Secretary of State Antony Blinken is headed to Israel this week for his fourth visit since the war with Hamas started. Topics for discussion include humanitarian aid, hostage negotiations, Israel's military strategy, and what's next for Gaza. Blinken plans to make several stops across the Middle East in the coming days, including Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and the Palestinian territory of the West Bank. Let's bring in Laurin-Whitney Gottbrath, world editor at Axios, to help us understand this trip. Thanks for being with us. What is the main goal, would you say, for the Secretary of State on this trip?
Look, I think there might be two or three main goals. First and foremost, as tensions escalate across the region, particularly in the last week, I think you'll be very focused on that. We saw senior Biden envoy Amos Hochstein was in Israel today trying to come up with a diplomatic solution to tensions on the border. So definitely the Secretary of State will be trying to de-escalate tensions and talk to all of these countries in the Middle East about how the U.S. believes that the region can go about doing that. Secondly, we know that the U.S. has been very adamant that the amount of aid that's getting into Gaza at the moment is nowhere near where it needs to be. So there will certainly be a lot of discussions he'll be having with Israeli officials on how to get more aid into Gaza. And then obviously the hostage situation, this is something he in particular has really focused on. And I expect he'll be talking with Qatar, especially since they've been mediating these deals, to try to see if there might be an opening, though that we're not very hopeful for that, but an opening for some sort of hostage deal.
In terms of U.S. pressure on Israel to do what the Secretary would like, what the President would like, what's the status of leverage in terms of the relationship between the two countries?
Right. I mean, I do think it's quite complicated, though a lot of people who want this war to end say it's not complicated at all. The U.S. considering how much military support and aid that it gives Israel could very much condition that aid and further money on Israel in terms of getting a ceasefire or something along those lines. But obviously, the U.S. and Israel are extremely strong allies. The U.S. wants to be seen as supporting Israel, its friend in the region. And, at the end of the day, the Biden administration continues to sort of, not sort of respond to this growing pressure, particularly in the U.S., to call for a ceasefire. I think a lot of U.S. presidents, once they actually get into office, realize they might not have as much leverage as they think when it comes to this long-standing relationship.
Absolutely. The trip to Saudi Arabia, what's Blinken going for there in terms of his objectives inside of Israel?
Yeah, I think it will likely be a number of things. I think particularly in the Arab countries that he visits, he'll be talking about how to prevent these tensions, the war in Gaza, from spilling over into a much wider war. So we expect he'll definitely be talking to the Arab countries, including Saudi Arabia, Qatar, et cetera, to continue to find ways to de-escalate. Though, we'll have to see how much he's able to get done in those countries.
Laurin-Whitney Gottbrath, world editor at Axios. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you.